Meeting will come to order, please. Notice requirements of the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting have been satisfied. Would you take a second to turn off all electronic equipment as we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Attention, salute. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Johanna, call the roll, please.
Mayor Becker?
Here.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Here.
Commissioner Blumberg?
I'm here.
As there are no items for discussion on the special part of the agenda, we'll go to department head reports, and we'll start with Chief Adams.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to start off and wish everyone a happy Easter and a joyous Passover holiday season coming up. I want to also reach out and thank the Atlantic Electric, in particular Ken Mosca and Mark Mucherone. They provided a 4-day program for each fire department shift on the new upcoming changes in the electric company and the operations. And it was very informative for the fire department as far as the safety aspect and that. So yeah, again, thank you to Ken Mosca and Mark Mucherone for putting that out. Otherwise, everything's good in the fire department. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Lisa?
Good afternoon. Earlier today, I sent my finance status report to each of you that just gave a little summary as of March 31st, but I would like to point out a few of the highlights. As of March 31st, our cash on hand for all funds was $8,040,054. In our lifeguard pension fund investment, which are CDs invested at UBS Financial, there was $353,167. And in the New Jersey Asset Rebate Management Program, we had funds invested valued at $7,527,337. Our year-to-date interest as of March 31st, we've earned in our utility $4,015. In the lifeguard pension fund, we earned $2,319, and in our current fund, in our operating account and the other investments to date, we've earned $43,549. I'd like to point out that at that time last year, our interest was approximately $7,600. So because of my investing elsewhere, we're up over $35,000 in interest income from where we were last year. We received the final $10,000 payment for a Sustainable Jersey grant for the watershed management plan. That plan was completed, I believe, last October. I'm not sure where a copy of it is, but we've received all the funding for that. Our year-to-date, the first quarter tax collections, we've collected 98.23%. The next bill is due May 1st, as you're aware. What else? I also want to point out that at yesterday's monthly JIF meeting, they went into a lengthy discussion, as they've been doing each month, about cyber liability. As you know, like all the employees that use computers were required to do this online training to help reduce our deductible for our cyber liability. Next year, they're expecting the premiums to go up because there's more and more cyber attacks. And they mentioned that in one of the other GIFs, I believe it was the Tricode GIF, since December, there were 9 claims, and a lot of them are for ransom. And now the people that are, hacking into these computers, they're asking for more, and I think like the minimum they're asking for was $100,000. So it's very real, and so just please be aware of, when you're using the computer, what you're clicking on, that you're not using your personal computer, that you're just using your city email. Am I correct, Fred? okay? I know there was another incident that Fred made everyone aware of where people got spoofed, not hacked, spoofed, because somebody clicked on something. And don't assume that it's correct. If something doesn't seem right, please don't click on it, because then they weren't into it, and you think you're receiving an email from an employee, and if you're not expecting an email, if it doesn't seem right, please don't click on it. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Dave,
I just want to welcome Captain Hankins, who's going to be joining me from now until my retirement date, just to transition easier and expose him to what really goes on here. So, yeah.
are you, Matt, are you smiling because you're here?
Yes.
Or are you smiling
I'm just happy to
because
be here.
the chief is retiring?
A little bit of both.
Dave,
On the agenda, you'll see there's an amended towing ordinance. And what this is going to allow us to do is we're actually going to get out of the towing business in the city of Margate. We're going to turn it over to private contractors who are going to store the vehicles outside the city of Margate. We feel to make it much easier. We hope you get your support on that ordinance. Do you have any questions regarding that, or?
I have none.
I want to thank Matt because he put that whole thing together. And
We're happy with it, yes.
I know that
we're
you
good.
were gonna touch base with them. and
We are, we're
everything's
very good, we're on top of it. They were gonna take those cars to Atlantic City, right? Robert?
yes,
Is that
cars
what
will
you
be
said?
going to Atlantic City, 1333 Arctic. 1333 Arctic. Actually, we've already moved a bunch of cars there out of our rec lot, which is a good thing. So it just makes life easier for us.
Good,
Other than that, everything is great.
good, thank you. Andrew, do you want to report? You're here.
Whatever it is.
Recreation department's good. Our spring programs are underway. We're preparing for all our summer programs. We started accepting registrations for all of our summer programs now. Otherwise, things are good. We're getting ready for the summer.
Good, thank you for the job you do, Andrew.
Thank you.
Rich?
I really have no special reports other than to kind of indicate we went through so much with capital. That's where we are at this time of year. We're finishing up on all those capital projects. Our regular budget's done. Finance director Lisa's given you the reports based on the first quarter. Everything is uploaded, and Lisa did a great job in doing it quickly. Lisa's right with regard to the interest. She switched locations for a lot of the money that we have invested on a temporary basis. It's paid off greatly. I want to make sure the public is aware that the places that we do invest our money are very, very safe. They're controlled by the state. We're not allowed to invest in stocks and bonds, and this is in a fund that the state operates. And what's the correct name of it?
The New Jersey Asset Rebate Management Plan, yes.
New
Any look or facility that we invest in has to be approved by GUDPA, governmental, I don't recall what the acronym is, I would have to look it up. All I know is it's GUDPA, and that they were approved, so I make sure that, I only invest in things that are approved by the state.
And lastly, on that subject, while people think $8 million is a lot of money, and it is, it's a lot of responsibility, but we collect all the money for the other governmental units on a quarterly basis, so a lot of that money rests with us on temporary basis. We have to move money in and out at various times during the year, and we turn over money monthly to the school systems, and we turn over money periodically to the county as well. So that's not all city money at any one period of time. We're the collecting agency. Thank you.
Thank you. You guys have anything else? Jim?
I'd like to thank Frank. He did a nice job with the city hall with the mulching around the, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but the mulching's done. And they put a nice little painted tank, like a water barrel or something underneath the rain spout at City Hall for,
Sustainable Margate.
that's great. And the kids are out there, they're marking the sewer systems right now to notify the people that, these sewer outlets go to the back bays.
Are you reading my report?
No. All right, I'll move on.
Frankie's already finished reading it.
Public Works?
I just see these guys out there. I just, you know.
Are you saying you have nothing to report tonight?
I got plenty to report. With the help of Frank again, he's helped us with our, what's called, we're calling it now the dust control with contractors with the demolition sites, so that when they tear these structures down, they need to go get a hydrant permit. Now they're saying that they want to get a truck with water on it. Well, we're telling them that they need to bring either the truck or get the hydrant. And Frank and Tara have been a big help trying to get this thing motivated. Scott's going to help us with the ordinance, so hopefully we can get this nailed down so we don't get any more complaints about dust or trash or debris all over the street from the high winds. Again, the construction sites are looking spick and span. I have never seen so many barriers with the plywood, and I really think they've kept up. It's just the demolition. The dumpsters need to be, there's a couple of them need to be dumped, but we're all working on it together to try to get them cleaned out. That's all I have to.
Thank you, Jim.
That's okay.
Frank, you want to pass today because
No, I'll add to Jim's report. This week, we went over to the rec lot. Obviously, we were talking about that. We cleaned it all out, cut the trees down and everything, and we're going to make arrangements for the ship container with the bicycles in it. And it's cleaned up a lot. We went over to the tie field across from the school, and we added more sprinklers to their system. We laid down sod in the infield, and we took the extra sod and put it out by Firehouse 2 on that one dirt road. We put a split rail fence across there and put the grass there. This week they were out painting the storm drains. Jessica Cuero and Anthony Edge. They ran that program. It worked out very good, even though it rained on Monday. They still had a great time, and their work was well appreciated. On Saturday, Edge was at the Clean Communities down on Granville Avenue, and they had a lot of people. Flynn's Bins was a sponsor. They brought pretzels and drinks for the kids and stuff like that, and it was a successful program. That program's been building for over 20 years now, and it's working out real good. It handles
150
it.
volunteers there Saturday.
Yeah. We also, the same day, we had the shredding at the Public Works yard, the paper shredding, which went very well. Anthony Edge, he received a letter from the Clean Communities. He is getting an award for Clean Communities Council Enforcement Award, which he'll receive on May 23rd at a dinner at the Nassau Inn, which makes us very proud of him. He's moved along pretty good, and he does a great job. The Army Corps of Engineers today dropped off 2,000 linear feet of Moby mat for us to put on the beach. Plus, we have additional ones from last year. I think we'll be in very good shape when it comes to Moby mats. Lucy's deck, the Public Works Department resurfaced it and took all the rotten joists out and everything and strengthened it all up, and the railing was put up and it was finished today. I believe it came out great, and it was a good project for over last winter. That's all I have.
thank
Thank
you
you.
again, Frank. Scott?
Mayor, a couple of things, some good news. Now, as you know, and thanks to the commissioners here and our professionals and Mr. Deeney, Margate's been trying to address our back bay dredging, which is a very expensive proposition down the line. And one of the things we've been trying to do is come up with an economic way to dispose of dredge material. And as you know, we own half of Shelter Island, which has a 4.5 acre, approximately 28-foot deep hole, which was created originally by dredging when they filled in the upper end of Margate and the lower end of Ventnor. Well, the DEP's attitude has really changed, and is now they're starting to see the light that this might be a really good way to handle it. They have now scheduled this fellow Dave Fonz from the DEP. I think Jim Rattel has been coordinating the efforts. You may have seen some of the emails. They're going to come here next Thursday at 10 o'clock to sit down with representatives of Margate, if you agree to do this, to try to go over some of these ideas of how we can best economically dredge our lagoons and waterways that so desperately needed. So if you're in agreement to that, I'll just give them the okay sign.
Okay.
It'll be, I believe the other city will be, you're good, everybody's good with it. Union Avenue, I'll confirm that, 10 o'clock. I think we should have somebody from our representatives, our engineers, Mr. Deeney's office is there. I certainly will be there, whoever wants to come from the governing body for city officials. But this is a real good sign. I think I told you last time that this Deputy Commissioner Kopkash had a long conversation with Stu Farrell from the Coastal Research Center. And her thinking too has really seemed to turn around in our favor, that this is really a good idea to try to restore marine habitat, which initially was damaged by dredging. What we're talking about is restoring it, having a two for one. We get to get our dredging material and restore marine habitat. So it seems like a win. And it's great that somebody from DEP is coming to our city to talk to us about it. So I'm excited about that. I also had mentioned to you the two potential grants that Coastal Research Center brought to our attention. One was to be about $30,000. The other one up to $125,000. I was advised, you may have seen the email, that Dr. Farrell said we have to be willing to commit matching if they give us the grant. The grant would be used for the studies. For instance, the hole that's up in Chelsea Heights. The state mandates all kinds of analysis of water, mud, study, migratory patterns, effect on the crabs, effect, what fish are there, what time of year. And so this money would be devoted to, we would have to do it if we wanted to be able to use that Shelter Island for our dredge deposit. So that grant, if you would agree, if they give us say the 125, Margate would have to come up with 125. Again, this would be for studies and directly related to the marine habitat and our dredging efforts, which we're going to have to do one way or the other for dredging. So if you're good for that. I would point out to you, Ventnor is our partner on Shelter Island, but I didn't think to ask them. We're the ones who are spearheading this. We're really the ones that have the lagoons and the waterways that are in bad shape. And of course, they're invited to this meeting next week too. So if you're good with it, I'll tell Dr. Farrell, yeah, go ahead, make the application, and let's see if we get the award of the grant. And then I guess you'd have to make a final decision at that point to match it, but that's one of the conditions for that bigger money.
I'm good. You good?
You guys good with that?
I'm okay with it.
Great.
Because it doesn't commit us, it doesn't commit us to spending the money.
That's
And
how I
so if
see
we
it,
don't
yeah.
get a good feeling from,
Right.
then we don't have to. So in that regard, I'm good with it.
John, you're good with it too? Yep.
We're not committing, just to be clear, we're not committing any money today.
Correct.
We're good
No,
with the-
no money today.
We're good with the concept of applying for
the
a
grant.
grant.
Right.
Got it.
Finding out where we are and how it would be used and what it would be used for, and there's a lot to find out yet.
Right.
There is a lot.
We are not committing any money.
And just to add to that, we do not have money in our budget to match that, so I'm just making you aware.
And again, may I add, Mayor, my question is we go through all of this pomp and circumstance, and every time it's more testing, it's more everything. We got to get to the bottom of line is if it's going to work, when are we going to be able to start? Meaning,
Well, this fellow
everything we've
Fonz
done
will be there.
in 4 years is testing, and we
It's
got
true.
no answers for anything.
Look, all I can tell you is I've watched and carefully followed Ocean City's efforts. They've committed over $20 million. I see what Avalon has spent and Stone Harbor, and our DEP mandates testing for the water quality. It would be those you're going to be drinking that water that you're dredging. But so it's either you
Scott.
do it their way or you don't get to do it.
An attorney told me a long time ago, you got your yes to make an application.
I'm in. Third and
We are
last,
not
we have
committing, we're not
we-
committing any more money.
We got a contract proposal for Remington on this, which we're really gonna have to study this and figure out how we wanna go. And some of that may depend on what Fonz tells us at our meeting next week. So let's do that.
Okay.
Okay, changing the topic, the tow ordinance was great, our police have come up with that. Jimmy has asked me to work with him to come up with a mandatory watering system for demolition, which we worked on. We also had an issue with one of the tractors tearing up our streets which we may mandate, I don't think we're gonna mandate rubber treads, but mandate that they put down planking. We have to do that by ordinance, I guess, right, or is that in there?
It should be in it.
I thought that was already done.
It's in there.
Well, he tore it up pretty good, and now he's gonna pave the whole, from what I understand, from the center line over so that you don't see it. It won't be a patch job, it'll be basically a replace job, so. And that's, you know, unfortunate. And some of these other contractors have been great under Deputy. They don't scratch the street. Unfortunately, one of them really scratched my street in front of my house, but it wasn't my demo, so.
We're not releasing the permit until you fix the street.
And that's how we have some high school leverage, so that's right.
You got anything else, Scott?
I do not, Mayor, I'll shut up now.
Okay.
Thank you.
Maury?
Okay, so I'm gonna piggyback. Frank, took most of my thunder, so my report, but so I'm gonna just echo and/or piggyback on Frank's. I want to thank Principals Becker and Gaskell, the Public Works Department, the Police Department, and Mrs. Cuevas for the job that they did with the sewer drains. And so not only, this was a great thing that the schools did. They're starting at kindergarten to educate these kids on what happens and where the water goes and what happens when trash and plastic bags and things get into the sewers. So they're doing, creating graphs and doing charts, again, kindergarten all the way up, and then it culminates with them painting the drains, and so that it's a great awareness program, and the kids had a great time, and they were safe, and Public Works did a great job as well. I've gotten a ton of compliments on the work that's been done out at the dog park. So people that are going to the dog park are very, very happy with the improvements that we've made at the dog park. The Sustainable Margate and Clean Communities, again, along with Public Works, did an excellent job at the beach cleanup. And like Frank said, that's been 20 years that our kids and our schools and people from the community are going out and picking up trash along the beach to make it beautiful. So thanks to Anthony and the team at Public Works. And that's all I have.
Thank you. John?
Thank you, Mayor. And a baby turtle was found on the beach. Some young lady found the baby turtle, which was pretty unique, and they took it to Robin Scott to see if she could do what she had to do to get it to the Mammal Stranding Center. With that said, I forgot to mention in our capital workshop to our engineer, if you could put it in your notes to Ed Dennis, I'd like to get together with him next week to visit the impound yard that we're going to turn into public parking to see if we can do a layout on parking spaces, to see how many spots we can get there, and then the police department can do the line striping. Thank you on that. The other thing I wanted to bring Mike and Maury into the loop, I received a call from the executive director of the Coastal Coalition, which we've been very active in, along with a lot of shore communities along the southern New Jersey coast. In reference to, they just received a second round grant to install a camera system, and they're selecting Margate if we choose to participate in it. There's no cost to the city of Margate other than I'll need Fred's expertise for the connection to Comcast. That they would place 2 cameras, both on evacuation routes. So what we would do is probably do the Margate Bridge, which we can actually have on our website, so that in coastal storms or high flooding, our residents could look on the computer and look at the Margate Bridge, and we're talking about Amherst Avenue from probably Benson or, Benson south, again, because how we've had flooding all through there as we're now trying to resolve some of those flooding issues with higher bulkheads, et cetera. But it would be a good, I think, a good program. It would only cost us the monthly maintenance for Comcast for the internet to be able to you know, to put it onto the thing. So it's something to consider. They've done it in Sea Isle, and it's been very successful.
I think we should just touch base. I'd like you to ask the police to touch base with our emergency management coordinator, just make him aware of that, and then get some input back to John.
And I want Fred involved, because you're gonna be the one that's gonna do the technology for us here. Thank you. That's all I have to report.
I have nothing today, but I would like to say something. It's kind of nice serving the people of Margate. I mean, all these good things are going on, and it's very heartwarming. It really is. At this point, we will open for public comment. We have 3 minutes to discuss anything that was talked about at the meeting. Is there any public comment?
Sewell 22 West Drive. Mayor, the best way to serve the public is with honesty and transparency. And on that note, following up on our esteemed solicitor's profound words today, dredging is a very expensive proposition. And, you know, in any other business, private or even public, you would have projected costs going out. Plan A, Plan B, funding, no funding. We have none of this. This is a $64,000 question. How much is it going to cost? And nobody's doing any planning. The CFO actually had the best statement of all. She says, we don't even have the money to match the grants. So where are you going to get this money, gentlemen? Is it going to come out of the thin air? You don't want to consolidate the schools like your political cohorts over in Brigantine have done with over 500 students. They're consolidating to one school. I mean, you've got tens of millions of dollars in those two assets. And I think you should really look real close at them as a source of this pipe dream of dredging. I have nothing against dredging per se, but if it's going to come out of the non-bayfront properties, I do have a problem with it. It shouldn't be welfare for the affluent. I don't know if the solicitor would like to include himself in that class, but if he does, I think he should also go with us and say, hey, let's find out the numbers. You haven't done your homework. You have a fiduciary duty to the taxpayers to let them know what your pipe dream is going to cost. I say, get somebody in here who can and will crunch the numbers. We need a number cruncher on this project. And I don't see one word about the projected cost, other than the solicitor saying dredging is a very expensive proposition. How expensive? That's not a question, Mayor. That's a rhetorical question. But it's a serious question all the same. And it must be addressed. You can't keep doing things on carte blanche and turn around and tax the senior citizen property taxpayers. They're going to leave. And if you don't believe me, hold out for another year till that 2020 census is finished. And you'll see the disastrous results of your fiscal policies. Let's start being fiscally responsible right now and get a crunch on the numbers of this dredging project. It's not asking a lot. It's just basic fiduciary duty. You are falling short. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment?
I'll make a motion, we close public comment.
I'll second.
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second?
Mayor Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Amadeo?
Yes.
Commissioner Blumberg?
Yes.
We will reconvene in 5 minutes.
Yeah, I will.